Hello Internet. Today we will be continuing to write a tutorial for our food delivery app. In the previous tutorial we have added a home screen where you can see all of the menu items. We have been using Strapi as our backend, and speaking of Strapi, really quick, while we're here, consider checking us out on DollarBackend.com. We can host Strapi for us. We're opening soon, so sign up with us please, and we'll notify you when we're opening. Also, we have a blog with all of those articles in our blog, so if you prefer to have a written version instead, or maybe you would like some notes for today's video, definitely consider checking us out on dollarbackend.com/blog. With that being said, let's get started. So this is how our main.dart looks right now. Nothing too complicated. Void main and run app just starts our Flutter app and my app, which is a stateless widget, which has a home page of a home page. This is great because we do have a home page in pages home.dart, which does show us a list of menu items, but we would like now to show menu items details. In order to create this, I have created two files, details.dart and order.dart, and in details.dart is just a simple stateless details page widget for now. Same in order, simple stateless widget order page for now. So what should we do next? How are we going to navigate between routes? If we were to Google for navigation in Flutter, we will stumble upon this article, Navigation and Routing. In here, Flutter suggests us to use a navigator. Let me see where it is. To use a navigator class, which is a widget that manages a set of child widgets in this stack. And navigator has a push method. And what this push method does, and what we can do is, if we have two different pages, we could say navigator.push material page route. This widget is going to be responsible for our transition. By default, Flutter has a between page transition, so material page route is going to animate the default transition in Flutter. With the builder, where we're going to take in the context and we will return our second widget. This is great. However, when pushing widgets directly onto the top of the tree, it can get very messy for larger projects. Say you have a home page, as we do in here, and this homepage is in the stateful widget homepage. Details page is in the stateful widget details page. Suppose tomorrow homepage is going to be home grid page, for example, and this new widget home grid page would now be the home page. What we would have to do is we would have to go to every single place where we call navigator.push and change home page with home grid page. This can be very error prone if, say, multiple people are working on the same project, so each of them has a branch and then you have refactored something a little and someone else have refactored something. It is just a very messy approach to the situation. Today we will be using Autoroute. It is quite a popular package, so I'll show you how to set it up. Setup is very easy. Basically everything that you need to know is on this page. To proceed with installation, go to installation, and as you can see, we have to add a dependency of Autoroute and two dev dependencies of Autoroute generator and build runner. Let's add those dependencies to pubspec.yaml. If we were to just copy this one, go to pubspec.yaml and add a dependency of Autoroute here. Of Autoroute generator of the same version and build runner. So Autoroute generator of the same version and build runner. We can just leave it empty, Flutter will figure it out. And we're done adding our dependencies. Now we need to create a router class. If you were to look at the documentation, we can create a placeholder class using this template. So let's copy it and let's create a new file in our lib folder, and we will call him router.dart. Paste in our placeholder class. I'm going to remove Cupertino autorouter, adaptive autorouter. We don't really need it for now. Feel free to read what these are in the autorouter's documentation, and then I'm going to import autoroute. Now we need to create 2 pages, or well, more pages. In our case, we'll have 3. Let's import the pages from the pages folder. Import pages dot home, and what else? Details and order. And then finally, let's go ahead and specify page classes that we need to use. And we're done. This is it. One more step. Let's run a generator command. We can retrieve from the documentation as well. I usually add it to like a script which I have with the project, so I can have this command in there with all of the other commands. It could be a makefile, it could be a bash script, like whatever you like more. I usually use a makefile. Run the generator and it will generate us router.gr. Let's take a quick look at this file. We have a class approuter similar to what we had in the placeholder, except without the $sign. It extends root stack router and it has all of those routes. Note that for each of the routes, let's take a look at the home route. It has a class home route, not home page. As we said before, replace page with root. This is why we postfix everything with the word page, home page, details page, so that we could have classes like home root, details root, and etc. Let's take a look at the home root. Home root has a path of a / because we have specified that home root is an initial root, and something like details root will have a path of details-page. We can see that we have specified details page. It'll just convert it to kebab case into details-page. Notice also that all of the roots are prefixed with a /. This is just something to keep in mind. One last thing that we need to do is to import our router into our main dot. First of all, we need to get rid of our home page and import our router. Notice that I'm importing router.gr. Our router.dart does not contain the code that needs to run in order for the router to work. It's just a template on how to generate router.gr. Once we have imported it, just go ahead and use material app.router, and we can just copy from here our router delegate and our route information parser. Paste it in, and also we need to initialize our router in our app. And we're done. Now we have our router working. So to demonstrate the navigation, let's temporarily replace our body with a refresh button. So body is going to be an outlined button with a child of a text of click. A button also needs to have an onPressed method, which will return us nothing. And now we can compile the app, see how our button looks like. Now our outlined button should do absolutely nothing. And that's right. When I click on it, nothing happens. Let's talk about how we can navigate using autoroute. As we've seen previously, we can use navigator of context.push. Same thing could happen with autoroute. Autorouter, not root, dot of context.push, and then we can push something like a details root, not details page, details root that the router auto-generated for us from router.gr.dart. If I were to save it right now, restart the app, we can see that it went to a blank page. It went to a blank page because our details page only has a container. Let's add a scaffold in here and a body of, say, center child text details page. If we were to save it, we can see that we are in fact on the details page. We also get this back button if we have more than one routes in our navigation stack. When we had only our home route in our navigation stack and we pushed in the details, we now had 2 routes. When I clicked back, we're now back to 1 route. For those of you who don't know, you can Google it on Wikipedia, but stack is kind of similar to a stack of plates. When we're pushing stuff on top of a stack, we are basically adding like another plate on top of our pile of plates, and when we're getting an element out of a stack, we're getting the last element that we pushed. For example, I were to go to details.dart and I were to add a button. I have now added a button with navigator.offContext.pop. We could also use autorouter.offContext.pop. Let's use autorouter. Or if you're using navigator, you can use navigator. Otherwise, it's better to use autorouter. You can see now that if we were to click on our button, we have added another plate to our stack. So now the first one is the home page, and then after this we have a details page. And when I press our elevated button which says pop, we're going to say autorouter of context.pop, which means that we'll remove the last element, which is the details page, and then we should be back on the home page. So click on pop, and we're back on the home page. While you're here, notice how Flutter transitions between two pages. This is the default transition that Flutter has for us, and this is why when we were reading the push method of Navigator, it asks us to push material page root. You can of course customize that transition, and you can even use a specific transition for a specific set of pages. But as of now, we will stick with the default transition.